In the news, fashion icon Lyn Slater featured in the New York Times this week for her vast social media following in Instagram, her new book out, and her trend setting styles. Oh, and by the way, she's 70 years old. The name of her book that's capturing a lot of attention is entitled How to Be Old: Lessons in Living Boldly from the Accidental Icon. I mean, here's a woman only a few years ago was a social worker. Today, she has nearly 1 million followers on Instagram, book deals, brand deals, making money, and apparently having the time of her life. Why is this so significant? Because so many of us like to have excuses. I would be a social media influencer, but I'm not 21 and hot. I would be a YouTube star, but I'm not 24-year-old Mr. Beast. I would be a superstar on TikTok, but I'm not 17 years old. All of us, and I'm guilty of this sometimes. I can say, well, of course, I don't have 10 million subscribers on YouTube. I'm not 24 years old like Mr. Beast. And in fact, almost all the people who have more than 10 million subscribers on YouTube are under the age of 35. So I'm not saying there's no difference as far as how people are perceived by age, but I urge you to check out this story about Lyn Slater. Age 70, she's called the accidental icon, and she has attracted a huge following on Instagram, wildly popular, nearly 1 million followers there. And she credits her success to constantly reinventing herself. She's done a gazillion different careers. She's been a social worker. She went back to school late in life, and she calls herself an improvisational person, and she is continuing to reinvent herself. She is a former professor of social work at Fordham University, and she was taking classes at the Fashion Institute of Technology in Manhattan. I used to live right down the street, would go to their museum, and this just opened a door for her. She started a fashion blog. One thing went to another and to another. And I think it's fascinating because it does show we live in a new world. Part of what fascinates me by social media is the traditional gatekeepers can't say no. If she had walked into Vogue magazine, forget last week or last year, 30 years ago, at age 40, they would have said, sorry, no thanks. But Anna Wintour, the editors of Vogue, the editors of Glamour, don't get to say no when you start posting on Instagram or anyplace else. The only one who can really say no is you. It's what we do to ourselves. And Lyn Slater is a perfect example of someone who said yes to herself. Now, was she already famous? Was she Kim Kardashian and her father represented OJ? No. As far as I can tell, she started the way most of us did, by scratch, with 0 followers, and she's built it up to about 1 million. I'm joined, as I typically am on this segment, this part of the week, by Barb Tomlin, one of our fantastic community, our only community manager for our online student community and a part of our larger community here on YouTube and social media. Barb, did you see this story about Lyn Slater? Because it really did strike me. It made me realize, why am I feeling sorry for myself? I mean, I'm no spring chicken, but I'm younger than Lyn Slater is. And it does go to show, if she can get 1 million followers on Instagram, why can't I? Why can't any of us, if we want to do that? Now, not everyone wants to be an Instagram influencer, but an awful lot of us have some passion, have some either area of expertise where we could help people, or a passion that brings us joy that would bring other people joy if we talked about it in some way, or took pictures and shared writing, shared pictures, shared images, shared our voice, whether it's podcasting, whether it's pictures on Instagram, whether it's text post on Facebook. So many of us have a passion for something, and yet we put straitjackets on ourselves. We say, well, if only I could have done this 20 years ago, if only I were 20 again or 30 again, or this or that, or if I had this time constraint not dragging me down, then I could do it. And yes, not everyone is in the same circumstances. And yes, some people are a lot luckier than others. And I consider myself lucky. But this woman, Lyn Slater, didn't seem like she had any huge natural ability to be a fashion superstar. Here she is at age 70 with a whole mini media empire. She's got her own audience. She's got her own fan base. She has her own revenue base. The editors of major fashion magazines cannot cancel her. She has control. And by her own admission in this article, said she's not planning on retiring ever, which is the attitude I have. I don't want to retire. And it's not that I think, oh, I'm irreplaceable, but it's that I enjoy what I do. Paul McCartney's voice might not be as good as it was in 1962, might not be as perfect. He still likes to sing. He's not doing it for the money. He's already a billionaire. He's not doing it for more fame. He's already about as famous as a human being could be, having been one of the founding members of the Beatles. But he continues to create music. He continues to compose. He continues to play music around the world because he enjoys it. He likes sharing his creativity with the world. Now, we can't all be Paul McCartney. Jerry Seinfeld, a billionaire. He's not out telling jokes to make money. He's doing it because that's a part of who he is. To me, that's a great place to be in life, not the billionaire part. That can create its own set of headaches too. But to be in a point in life where you have a passion for something, you can create that thing, and that you can then share that thing with people around the world that benefits them and either benefits you or benefits a charity you care about. And you can do it as long as you want to and do it when you want to. To me, that's a perfect thing. That's a perfect lifestyle. That's a perfect career. Now, again, other people have different aspirations. You may want to be the absolute best hospital manager in your community, knowing you're saving lives every day. We need great hospital managers. But what's different to me about Lyn Slater's career versus a hospital manager, people have been able to be hospital managers for a long time. It's a relatively recent phenomenon for someone to be a 70-year-old former social worker and now be a fashion icon and now be able to share ideas and creativity with millions of people around the globe. That's a relatively recent phenomenon. And I think it's an attractive one to a whole lot of people. So that's what caught my eye. We are here today taking your questions. Some of you were nice enough to write in with questions, and some of you are nice enough to regularly to show up here. I've posted a link right here in the comments section. I've also posted a link in the community tab on my YouTube channel. Now, if you're watching this from Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, any place else, and you want to appear on camera and talk to me, be a part of this community, ask a question. You can appear on camera. You can turn your camera off and just turn your microphone on. And you can ask questions. You can participate. You can disagree. Anything you want to do, all you have to do is hit that button to connect with us on StreamYard. I'm going to go to some questions that were sent in a moment. But first, Barb, did you get to see the article about Lyn Slater? And have you heard of her before?
I heard about it. I haven't had time to look at the latest news, quite frankly, on that because I have been in training at the beginning of each year. Meta, formerly Facebook, provides training to its top admins and stuff. And I just got through going through statistics yesterday, and the other thing I work on is I've mentioned it before, a social media marketing world.
Hmm.
And you can get virtual tickets as well as in person. And so, what's already come down for the past 2 days, I mean, this is really important about, one of the speakers yesterday said something about the fact that authenticity was a big deal 10 years ago, a word, and now it is the word for right now in 2024. And then you share this, it you know that that's my age group, and I think about it and what it's just making the magic at the right time, and her voice being, her message and what she's achieving right now is so vital. The country, the world needs to know, because we have a new older society in the world today. I mean, you look at Clint Eastwood being 93. I mean, he's not sitting there, take care of me, take care of me. He's out there producing another film.
Yeah. I mean, Norman Lear was making TV shows at age 100 until the day he died, or 101. He just died a few months ago.
That's one on me. I didn't know he made it to 100 doing that.
Yes.
That's awesome. But
Yeah.
I mean, we people are taking better care of themselves, and they're making major life. I have a girlfriend that is a commercial hot air balloon pilot, and she was in fashion modeling in New York this week. She's a senior fashion model, and I believe she's about 60. And I mean, absolutely stunning. And it just blows my mind. People remaking themselves 60 and over, but very vital, very much a part of what is going on in the world today.
Well, good for her. My wife and daughter always laugh when I mention this, but maybe I'll have to revitalize my modeling career. Believe it or not, Barb, in probably 1979, I was a tuxedo model for a department store in Charlotte, North Carolina. I had a little more hair back then. Let's be fair. And I got the princely sum, the huge payday of $5. Now, I don't mean $5 per hour. I mean $5 per fashion show. That was showing up. That was a rehearsal. That was waiting around. That was doing it. That was finishing it. I got $5 for being a fashion model, but it was a lot of fun. Hey, Barb, we have Santiago joining us. Let's go ahead. There he is.
Hi,
Santiago.
there.
How are you today?
Hey, hello. How are you?
Fantastic. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
We've had a couple of other people say hello, and it's in to me, it appears to be a Thai language script. So someone is saying hello and saying, and nice, thank you so much for stopping by. We're happy to really have anyone pop in. But Santiago, you are one of our favorite students, speakers, communicators in the world. We're so happy you're a part of our community. You've been nice enough to share some of your YouTube posts. Let's do this. Can we go ahead and Santiago, I'll let you pick because you've done a number of great presentations lately. But Barb, if you could share whatever video Santiago selects, let's just.
Could you give me a couple minutes, would you? Because I have to go back to the Facebook group to grab that, and I'll be back with you. But it's so good to see you, Santiago.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for joining us today.
And
so
those of you who are new to this channel, I'm TJ Walker, and this is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're all about trying to help people become more successful in their professional life and personal life by being better at communication skills and being more confident in their communication skills. So that's what we're about. So anytime you want to show a video of yourself to get feedback, figure out how to do better, we're happy to do it right here. There's no charge for anything like this. If you just want to get more eyeballs, we're happy to show your video and we talk about it. So many Facebook pages and other communities and groups are like, no promotion, don't be promote. Well, we're the opposite. We want you to promote as long as there's some angle that other people could learn from as it relates to how to communicate effectively. Because the best way of communicating to promote something you're really passionate about, whether it's your book, your new business, your prospect, yourself as a job prospect, is to speak. Doesn't mean writing isn't important, doesn't mean PowerPoint or brochures aren't important. But the most powerful thing you have to promote anything in your life is your ability to speak. And that is what we're all about right here as a community, trying to figure out how to get better and better and better, whether it's speaking one-on-one, whether it's speaking to friends, family, colleagues, whether it's a group setting, a meeting setting, whether it's to prospects, clients, colleagues, whether it's to 2 people, 20, 200, 2,000, or 2 million. We want to give you the tools you need to get better at it and feel more confident about it. Okay, Santiago, you want to set us up here for your presentation? And if there are any particular areas you want us to really give feedback on, I am interested in hearing.
I had thanks, TJ. I had a loud inner critic last week yelling at me that this was probably not going the right way. I was not advancing anymore. So I got a little bit insecure about my storytelling and my the presentation of the topics that I tried to share about critical thinking and communication, specifically with a scientific within a scientific context. And at some point I was seeing a lot of engagement and attention to my videos, and I think it was my 8th video. I got above 1,000 views, and then eventually,
Great.
slowly, it started reducing in numbers,
Mhm.
and then I got a bit insecure and thought, am I doing something wrong? Am I presenting it? Are my thumbnails lacking? Am I doing something with my storytelling, my presentation that might cause this? I've understood now that YouTube is a very fluctuating environment where sometimes you have your peaks, your breakout videos, or whatever they call it, and sometimes you have dips, and that's completely normal. But still, I'm always curious to hear what the community, especially TJ and Barb, has to say about my videos. And Cesar usually gives me a lot of good feedback, and which I implement to my future videos. So I just want to make sure all the time that I'm going forward and I'm not regressing.
Sure. And I think you're absolutely right, though, that things do fluctuate on YouTube and any social media. And if you really talk to any person who's wildly successful in YouTube or social media, the vast majority of the ones where I listen to them and really go beyond the surface, it seems like 99% of the time they say, well, my first 5 years, it was up and down and I had almost no audience. And only after 5 years of really consistently putting stuff out, only then did it kind of get semi-consistent. Even then it can go up and down.
Yeah.
So the main thing, you try to learn as you go, you try to make improvements, but realize, what you want is if you aggregate the line, it goes up, but it's going to be like that. Nothing just goes straight up. Let's go ahead and take a look at the video and figure out, what do we like? What do we not like? What do we want to do more of? And where do we want to improve? Barb?
Okay. Let me see if I've turned the audio on and put it on full screen here.
Well, let's go. AI tools. They have triggered anything from standing ovations to harsh criticism. For example, some claim we're watching the death of artistry unfold right before our eyes, which is quite poetic, to be honest. Others have embraced the AI tools as a partner in crimes, for example, writing grant proposals or checking the weather outside or, well, cheating on art competitions. Still, regardless if you're for or against AI tools, it doesn't really matter. These tools are here to stay and will be expanding beyond our imagination. Now imagine a world where every question is answered immediately. Ask yourself, at what cost to your thinking, knowledge, and reality? Let's just dive into this AI rabbit hole and explore how it affects us and our relationship with these tools. Oh yes, and by the way, this story will turn dark at first, but don't worry, There will be some helping light at the end of this tunnel. By the end, I'll propose a couple of approaches you can use to activate your thinking and seek knowledge purposefully. So don't worry, I won't leave you in despair. Let's talk about generative AI, which refers to artificial intelligence models that generate new content based on existing data, like books, articles, internet content, music, sounds, anything. Developers of generative AI systems like DALL-E or ChatGPT, they have trained their systems with this existing data in order to create responses that coordinate with the type of prompts, queries, or requests that you place upon them. And of course, the output of these systems are not direct copies of their source. Instead, they create
Okay, Barb,
content
if you could
based
hit
on the
pause.
style, the themes, the genres.
I'm trying. There we go.
Okay. So I had let me just be full disclosure, and again, try to do what I frequently do, which is take you behind the scenes of what I'm thinking, what I'm doing as a content creator. I had a mild panic attack there, and that's when I shifted to the split screen because something happened earlier this week, Barb, where I had critiqued someone's YouTube video and they were with me live, and I think it actually given me the link. And then the next day, I see that my video, my live stream has been demonetized because there was a content strike because I used that person's video. So I don't know if I protect myself if I do a split screen and it's not completely using it, or if they actually saw it, forgot that they were on with me and said it, or if it just automatically happened. I don't really know. And I also don't know if it's triggered after a certain number of seconds. So that's why just then you saw me quickly go to the split screen type of thing. So apologize if that seemed weird in some way. Before we delve into Santiago's, do you have any strong sense of what was happening there, Barb?
In his video or with
No,
technology?
about whether YouTube is now going to give content strikes because I used Santiago's video, because it happened to me earlier this
And
week by critiquing a student's video.
I'll be darned. That's the first I've heard of it because YouTube is all about, I mean, they were about community before there was a community tab. You know, community is not technology, it's the people. And so YouTubers would gravitate towards other YouTubers and they share. And so that's a good question to research because that's the first I've heard. I mean, he's with us. And now, like, if he wanted to report, hey, he used too much or whatever, but at the same time,
Please don't do that.
yeah, let's just unpack that because as a producer, as someone who actually produces your own videos, because you are taking on that role as far as in addition to being a star of your show. Well, you obviously have permission over yourself and you've got the production, you're carrying it, but you also have some obligation about who and who you have with you on your lives and what is being said, what is being shared. And so there is some responsibility that we have to always be checking, I know you hate me to use these words, but the terms of service of all these different platforms and what they're doing. This is new to me. I have never heard of a YouTuber getting strike, on another, when they're with another YouTuber in their sessions. That's a new one on me. So I would have to look that up.
Yeah.
But I want to say about his video. I want to say about his channel. I'm a fan. But we all got drawn into his video right away. Now, what drew Barb into it? One, he knows he was talking about one of my favorite topics. And not just the AI, but the critical thinking side of it. And so, I totally resonate with what he's about, what he's doing. But I thought, man, Santiago had to spend a heck of a lot of time on producing that video. I mean, I just can't imagine doing it that fast and looking so good because he did all the things. I'm talking from the video production side. And we were talking, like you said, don't do a PowerPoint. Don't, all of the technology that we were brought up, or tools we were brought up with, that's out the window. And he's got a new generation of thinking here. And I thought you did an excellent job, Santiago. And I'm not trying to butter you up or anything. I'm an old lady. But I just think that you're really special, and don't give up. Absolutely do not give up. And the thing is, though, you had so many golden nuggets in there that knowing this is where us as producers, as video producers, that knowing what that platform that we're streaming to is favoring at the time, that's a technology thing, what it's looking for is absolutely vital to actually garnering attention for viewers. And so you could have, coming up to that, and even now that you've passed it, is do shorts pertaining to that video, and bring more viewers in to the video that's already played.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because right now YouTube is favoring that big time. And you can even go live in the short, which was something I'd forgotten a couple weeks ago that came out, that they were releasing that to, I think, everybody. So there are tools to work with. So you have to look at your destinations of where is this audience, where I'm streaming to, what is that audience about? And of course, when we go to YouTube, in general, we're at the mercy of the algorithm of YouTube, because we don't even know if those are our people who are going to click on it to view it. It might be that one, critical thinking. I'm thinking about that, so I'm going to go, because YouTube brought this up to me right now, I'm going there. But I don't know, Santiago. And another side of it might be that you touched on AI, you know what I'm saying? So everybody's looking for AI, so that could bring it up too. But right away, at this stage in 2024, more than ever, and I'm sorry to preach community, but we have to be very cognizant, and it's how do we go on new land and start a community? We're pioneers, right? And so there you are on YouTube. You have under 100 subscribers, as do I, and I've been there since 2009, and I'm a community developer. I've been a community developer online community developer since 84. So here and now, I'm in the boat with same boat. What you can do is check out that community tab, share that video on the community tab, share my major points on that video in the text, so technology-wise, it's being picked up by YouTube, because YouTube is favoring that community tab. They're favoring shorts, so you could bring that in too. So it's going to come back to the longer video. But something in the future, something so meaty as that, introduce it with the shorts, just just one part of it with the shorts, and going into deeper detail in my video, in my next video or whatever, do that tie-in so you can bring it and talk about it on the community tab. Say, this is my short for today, and tomorrow I'm covering X, and let's talk about it, because you want to provide that hook, get that conversation going on your community tab. And it's like, well, Barb, there's nobody watching my channel, or it's not there. YouTube is technology-wise, is favoring that content. So make sure that your keywords in that community tab are ones that the people in general are looking for. And just to break the monotony, TJ and I learned something very important yesterday, because we brought up the conversation of dogs in our live video, and all of a sudden, as people wanted, what, dogs? It wasn't a live about dogs, but dogs and cats, those are key words that right now, the research that just came out, major marketing research firms said, to this day, dogs and cats are number one in attracting people to videos, in attracting people to content on the internet. So it's important that when we're using these technology tools, we're using this conduit to converse through, that we remember that we have these tools. It's up to us to learn how to use them properly, and always be paying attention to that social media platform that you're streaming to, about what their policies are and what they're favoring in terms of content. Sorry,
Great points, Barb. Thank you so much for that insightful analysis.
Thanks a lot.
And quick note, and then Santiago, I want to go into a little more analysis of the video you just did. But special hello to Adam Tick who's just joined us. Vyas is posting some comments, and Vyas, you were nice enough to post questions at the end of yesterday's session. We didn't get to it, and I said I would answer you right away today. We have Santiago in the room. We're going to critique his video, and then I will come to you. And Vyas, if you do want to come and join us and talk about your question on right on camera with us, you're more than welcome to do it. Again, I've posted the link to StreamYard so you can join us live right in the community tab on my YouTube channel. So if you go to the TJ Walker Success channel on YouTube, hit the community tab, you'll see the link to StreamYard. So Vyas, if you want to join us, you can. You don't have to. I am going to address your question. Now, Santiago, I continue to see improvements in your video. You might not see a spike up in views every single time. That's not really how that works. But to me, you're coming across more comfortable, more confident. You've gotten rid of distracting things. In some of your earlier videos, the way you were sitting and the legs, it just looked awkward. Now,
that was once.
What's that?
That was once, yeah. And I regretted it immediately after your comment.
We got to experiment. I mean, you see Mr. Beast's first videos, and he's this little boy talking like that. So we all do things that can sometimes look odd. That's okay. So the important thing is experimenting, figuring out what gets better, getting feedback. You're doing that. So I think you look good, you sound good, you come across comfortable and confident. It is an interesting use of the special effects. Part of me liked it. You had the little boop, and there was a flame come up. I have some mixed feelings. If you're doing a produced video, certainly a YouTube short, things like that, yes, everyone is used to constant edit, special effect, things like that. There is a problem or an issue where once you start with special effects and sound effects, at some point, people start comparing you to Hollywood special effects Steven Spielberg. That's a very tough battle to win. I don't want to be compared to Steven Spielberg. So that's why for most of my online courses and what we're doing here a lot, I prefer to keep it simple. I want people comparing me to someone else who's speaking is maybe boring. That's a battle I can win. So putting the special effects in that way and yet not doing the B-roll, there was a part of me that thought, it's special effects, but is that now a cheap special effect? If it was simply a B-roll or a picture, I think it would be sort of less directive. Oh, I'm adding a special effect. Barb may have a completely different perspective on that. We'll ask her to weigh in on that in a moment. My other issue is, how much time did it take? And maybe you said it took 10 seconds. How much time did it take to look at the footage and go back in to put the special effect? I want to hear from that in just a moment. But first, do keep in mind, there are some wildly successful YouTubers, the Vlog Brothers, a lot of people where it's mostly them just talking, giving interesting insights, and they're not putting up little bips and things like that. I would hate for that to take up so much of your time. You produced fewer videos. So I just want you to think about that. Now, here's my bigger challenge. Everything you said about AI to me sounded intelligent. It sounded true. You sounded informative. But as I was listening now a couple of times, in the first 60 seconds, I didn't hear myself saying to myself, wow, That's an interesting, provocative insight I hadn't heard before or thought of before. Nor is that something where it's an old idea I already heard, but wow, it was said in an interesting, provocative way. It was different. That's a higher standard. I mean, that is what I think you typically see in YouTubers who take off. And I don't have 10 million viewers, but I do try in the first 30 seconds, often the first 10 seconds, not necessarily to be funny or overly dramatic, but to say something that either frames a question to make people think of something in a different way, or goes against conventional wisdom some way, or casts something in a new light. I didn't hear that in your first 60, 90 seconds. Maybe Barb did, but that would be one challenge I'd put out there to you, is how can you not simply be a synthesizer, and there is a role for being a synthesizer and being able to articulately say things on camera, but you'll bring in a much bigger audience if people think, wow, hadn't heard it put quite that way before. Any response to that?
Yeah, I have 3 comments, if I may, because first of all, I want to thank Barbara for all the feedback, even her feedback on the Facebook, which was along the same lines. It helped me a lot, and it resonates as well with the experts' advice that I've been receiving lately about shorts and live streams and interviews, and it's something that I want to start doing as well, to engage with other people and learn from them. For the AI transparency video, for example, I would like to invite an expert on AI to dig into this a little bit more, so because I'm not an AI expert. So everything that Barb said definitely resonates with the feedback I've been getting lately. Now, for the special effects, it's a funny thing, because every time I edit, I find some new quirk that I find funny, and I have a thing with having fun during the editing, so I add a little bit of a cringy stuff, then I laugh for myself, and then I just tell myself, just keep it there. And I knew that the flames, I was laughing while I was adding them, the flames and the rabbit, I thought this is probably too much, but let's just try it, and then just leave it there and see what happens. So that those special effects did not take me too long. The rest of the editing takes a lot of time, but I think every video I have some type of cringy but funny that amuses me. So I have fun during.
Well,
during
it's good to be amusing. I mean, people who can combine substance with a little amusement or a humor generally do better. Everyone likes
it makes
a good
me
laugh
laugh at least at the moment. So yeah, and for the introduction, I think it's an interesting comment that you have. I will look into it a little bit more in detail. My experience with it is talking with communicators, scientists. They often feel this fear. Maybe I should have pushed that a little bit more, but they seem to be fearful of the fact that AI will take over, and then eventually we will have an AI-driven information landscape. And this is what I wanted to point out, that indeed, if we overemphasize the AI or over rely on AI, we will stagnate somehow in our critical thinking, and the communication, the information landscape will not be as colorful. So that was what I wanted to push. And we have both critics, and we have both,
so let's go, but that's an interesting point. What you just said is more interesting in a shorter period of time than your first 90 seconds. Can you think about how you could then put out a thesis, your own thesis of how we combat it? Is there something people are doing right now where you think it's horrible? I mean, for example, you may not care about this at all, but I know that I'm guilty of this. People in my family are guilty. We couldn't find our way to a grocery store a block away without using GPS. We're letting the computer, the satellites, take over what we used to rely on memory. Now, that may be totally unrelated, but Some people are obviously worried that human beings are going to lose the ability to write and communicate if all they have to do is grunt a few words to an AI and it spit out the perfect letter. Maybe you have some specific exercise or drill or something you think scientists should do to prevent that might make me think, oh, he's right. That would be a safeguard. What I'm looking for, I think, is an interesting thesis you have that builds on stuff that people in your audience are already thinking about, already talking about, they've already read. So it's not just a summary of stuff people have already knew. Because remember, one of our biggest battles anytime we're speaking is if people can listen to you for 10 or 20, 30 seconds and be thinking, okay, I kind of already know that. Let me sort of halfway pay attention and let me check email and text and other things. And we lose them. So it's not that I want you jumping up and down and doing gimmicky things to get people to pay attention. But the more that you can sort of relatively quickly get to an interesting idea, and an idea isn't interesting if I already know it. An idea isn't interesting if I read it in 12 articles in the last month. So it's got to be interesting. There's got to be some novelty to it, some controversy to it. That's what I think will give you bigger audiences and make people want to watch it.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. After all, you're one of the viewers. You have that point of view, and I'm going to take that with me to my future videos. However, the newness of this video was illustrated in my top 5 how-tos, how to avoid this AI capturing our information landscape, and that's what I present at the end of the video. And to be honest, I think in this case I feel that it worked because my retention time for this video was better than the retention times for the other videos that I've published.
Okay, that's so good that you're checking that out.
I guess that this table that showed, you will learn the 5 how to use the AI. I think that's novel, and not many people talk about it. Not many people talk about this uniformity in the information landscape, or how it can capture our thinking, and how to use ChatGPT or other AI tools to your advantage to develop your healthy skepticism and critical thinking. So I'm definitely going to take your notes or your feedback seriously, and I'm going to think about it in the future. But I also see some success with this introduction.
Great. Well, that's fantastic, and it's great that you're actually looking at the data, because YouTube does tell you, like, what percentage did people watch, when did they tail off, and the people who are really, really good at, certainly the Mr. Beast of the world look at it in microseconds, and just the time it takes him to, smile. He might delete that from a video. And one of the people who's the most successful in the world at YouTube Shorts, I think her name is Jenny Hoyos. She's like 18 years old, lives in South Florida. Millions and millions and millions of views for every short. She analyzes the data to like a tenth of a second, and has found that she shaves it from like 33 seconds to 32.9 seconds. It gets much higher views and engagement. So it's great that you're analyzing the data.
Thanks a lot for the comments, for the feedback.
Santiago, thanks so much. And when will we see your next video?
Was supposed to be published tomorrow, but I'm traveling, and I'm going to try to make a short preparing people because I'm in Lund in Sweden, where I started my studying. So now I want to show my viewers what were the advantages at Lund University to develop my independent thinking, but not centered around me, but in general, what they did to activate that. So hopefully I can get a short out tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm experimenting now. I'm trying to clean up my channel a little bit, fix it, making it a little bit prettier. So maybe in that case, I will have to postpone it until next week.
Okay.
So Thursday or so.
All right. Well, we'll look for that. Please
Thanks a
post
lot.
it in our community as well. And nice to see you and nice to chat with you.
Nice to
Thanks
see
so
you
much
too.
for stopping by. Great.
Thank you.
We've had a young man, Vias, patiently asking me
Yeah.
questions yesterday and today, and I want to give him full attention. And Vias, again, you're more than welcome to hop on camera if you want. But I want to do. You've asked a couple of important questions, and then I'm going to answer you. I also want to take questions from those of you who wrote in. Many of you do write questions in. Sometimes you post them on the comment part of some of the videos. Sometimes you email them to us directly when you're RSVPing to these events. So I try to answer all of your questions that relate to communication skills and public speaking. I see now I've missed a whole bunch of private messages. And okay, there's some conversation between several of you. That's great. You can communicate with yourselves. Communication doesn't have to go all through me. Adam has posted some questions, but so I'm not rude to Vias. I want to answer your questions. And there's such important questions. I want to record these, and they're going to be used for future long form and short form video. So I got to hit my mixer to record. So we get that going. And I'm going to, in fact, switch to a camera one. So how do you really engage people when you're talking to them? The simple thing is be interesting. Okay, duh, that's not really very insightful. How can you be interesting to people? For starters, ask yourself, if you could hear you speak, would you find yourself interesting? Quite often the answer is no. If you're just delivering facts, if you're just delivering data, you got to ask yourself, what? And I'm sorry, I'm hearing typing. I'm going to have to mute somebody here. Forgive me, but I'm going to have to do that one over because I'm going to need a clean copy of this. Okay. So we're going to do that. I've got to do that one over. So again, part of the structure of what we do here in the live is I'm taking you behind the scenes so you can see how does a creator actually create video content? How does an online course creator create? It's not always one take, although I try to do things in one take more often than anyone else. It's not always one take. So let me start over with that one. So how do you really engage an audience? Be interesting. Duh. That's not very insightful. It does raise the question, how can you be interesting to the people you're speaking to, whether it's one person, sitting down, meeting with 3 people, or 30, or 300, or 3,000? How can you actually be interesting? Well, the first thing you got to do is sit back a minute and ask yourself, if you could hear yourself speak, would you find yourself interesting? Chances are, in many cases, the answer is no, because you're just delivering data. You're just giving facts. You're just giving more information. Well, newsflash, the world is awash in information. Everybody has access to all the information ever created in the world if they have a cell phone. It's all there. Everyone has access to Wikipedia. So when you're speaking to someone, it can't just be more facts, more numbers, more data, more bullet points, because people's eyes glaze over. They think, I didn't need to come hear this person speak right here in person live. I could have stayed home, saved the trouble, and just read that online. So when you're speaking to someone face to face, you got to realize the stakes are higher. You've got to provide some value that isn't there just from looking it up online. Now, the beauty of spoken communication is you can give people a sense of what's important, why it's important, why you care, why they should care, and why they should be motivated to take some action. Because everybody has a million people pulling on them every single day. Buy this, do this, clean this, do this, help me, donate, volunteer. Everyone has requests all day long. So if you have an opportunity to speak to someone and they're actually paying attention, they're giving you something of tremendous value. Many people value their attention and their time a lot more than money. You can make more money. Your money can make money. You can't make more time to give to people with your attention. That's a valuable prize. So don't fritter it away. Don't waste it. So many people, when they start to speak to someone, they feel like they have to go through these boring procedural things. Good morning, happy to be here today, as you know, and today I'm going to be talking about this, and the exit's over here. Boring. Just hop right to it. Say something interesting. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I know what you're saying, TJ. Tell a funny joke. Well, I'm not a good comedian. No, you don't have to start off a speech or a presentation or a talk with a joke. If you're not naturally good at humor and storytelling jokes, don't do it. You don't have to be funny. All you have to do is say something interesting. You want someone to sort of sit up and say, oh, this isn't really what I expected. I expected to be bored. Now this person talking to me is saying something interesting. Let me actually look at them. Let me really pay attention, not just look at them to be polite, but actually I'm thinking about, oh, I'm going to play pickleball in a couple of hours. Do I have my racket ready? You don't want them multitasking in their brain. You want them actually listening to you. The way to do that is by saying something interesting. Now, how do you know? I'm not suggesting you rehearse and plan every time you have lunch with your best friend about what to say. But sometimes when you talk to people, the stakes are higher. It's more important than other times. So if you're just having a casual meeting with a friend, no, don't rehearse that. But if you have to talk to your entire board of directors on Thursday, and there are going to be 20 people in the room, some of them might have an impact on your next promotion or 3, the stakes are higher. So practice your presentation on video. Pull out your cell phone, use a webcam, record yourself and watch yourself, and then scrutinize it. Ask yourself, would I find that interesting? If the answer is no, it's boring to you, guess who else it's boring to? Your audience. Try again. The number one thing that gets people in trouble is just trying to go through way too much data. Oh, I'd love to be interesting. I'd love to tell good stories, but I can't because I've got to go through all these facts and numbers and data. You can email people data. They can find it online. If you're speaking and you want to be interesting to people, you have to tell the story behind the most important data point. That is how you can get people's attention every time you speak. Okay, I should have timed that and hit stop on the record. So I'm stopping that. So bias, that's sort of my long answer. While it's fresh in my mind, I want to do a short version of that could be used for a YouTube short, because I do think many, many people can really relate to that question. So I'm going to hit record and get a little water first. Again, those of you joining us now for the first time, what I'm doing here is this is a live session. It's sort of a workshop. I answer your questions about public speaking, communication skills, speaking to the media, but I also take you behind the scenes and show you how I'm making online courses, how I make promotional videos, how I make long form videos for social media, and how I make short form videos for social media. So I'm going to now make a short form video, which for me, my data, we were talking about data with Santiago earlier. What I find, what works best for me is a video 12 to 20 seconds long. Sometimes I have trouble keeping it that tight. So I'm going to consciously try to do something that short to get people's attention about the issue of getting people's attention. So let me hit record, get a camera 2. How do you really get people's attention when you speak? It's simple. Don't do a boring data dump of fact, fact, fact. Say something interesting to them, not to you. Don't tell them about how great you are, your qualifications. Give them one interesting idea in the first 10 seconds, then they'll pay attention. Okay, so that, I hope, is something that could be usable for a YouTube TikTok short. All right. 7X has posted some comments. I'll check the private comments in just a moment. But I want to, again, thank Vias for asking such thoughtful, intelligent questions that are relatable to so many people. So he's asked another one. How to work on vocal tone. Let's talk specifically about that. Okay, so I'm going to going to record this again because so many people are worried about tone. And by the way, I would love to get feedback from anyone watching on that last one, because I didn't script that. I didn't write it in advance. I didn't use a teleprompter. I saw the question, I reflected for a few seconds, and I tried to do it very consciously, thinking, I want this to sort of continue and flow. I don't want to make life difficult for the editor, having to spend 10 hours chopping this together to have it make sense. So I tried to do it as if the whole thing could just have a beginning and an end and stand on its own, with maybe just a little B-roll and a few special effects and music. That's how I do these, to try to save time, be more efficient, and put more out there. I'm going to try to do the same thing now for the next question on vocal tone. Okay. Go to camera one. I'm going to hit record. How do you work on How do you improve your vocal tone if you want to be a better speaker? The biggest problem most people have with the tone of their voice is it's just too specific and monotone and consistent in the same way. And it's not interesting. It's boring. It's not that the natural tones of their voice are bad or great or awful or irritating. It's that they're just too consistent. Now, the reason for that is you're nervous. Now, I get it. It makes sense. You're standing up or sitting in front of people you don't normally speak to, maybe a boss, maybe clients, maybe someone interviewing you, and you're a little bit nervous. Your body tenses. Your hands may or may not be shaking, but we tend to tense up. When we tense up, our vocal cords even tense up. And before you know it, the volume goes down and we're kind of monotone. And yes, as you can see, I graduated in the spring with a degree in electrical engineering, and my tone is too consistent. It's too flat, which means it's boring. And I'm sending a message to people that, hey, I'm kind of scared. I'm not very comfortable here. I'd like to do something else other than talk to you. That's what's happening with the tone of my voice. Now, how do you improve it? Just saying, don't be nervous is frankly useless advice. The biggest thing you can do to improve the tone of your voice is to practice more often on video. You need to get used to hearing your voice, because if you hear the tone of your own voice and you think, wow, that person sounds kind of flat, boring, scared, nervous, guess what? You're probably right, because you've heard people who are flat, boring, monotonous, and their tone is too even keel. You know what you don't like, so apply that to you as well. What's going to make you more comfortable is knowing two things. Number one, what you're saying is interesting. Number two, how you're saying it sounds interesting and sounds comfortable and confident and engaging. You'll never know if you don't practice on video. I know. You don't want to practice on video. DJ, I don't like the sound of my own voice. Get over it. I'm sorry. Because your audience has to hear your voice. They have to hear your tones. So you might as well know how you're coming across. You might as well know exactly what they're getting. How else can you tweak it? How else can you improve it? How can you know if you're too monotone or flat or boring? The other thing that trips people up is they think, okay, I can't really be myself. I can't be the way I am with friends and family, using the full range of my voice. This is a serious business situation, a serious business presentation, so my tone has to be professional. Wrong. For most people, when they try to have a professional tone in their voice, they make themselves flat, monotone, boring. What happens to an audience when they're bored? Or realistically, these days, they're just checking their cell phone, especially if the presentation is virtual and there's a camera and maybe you can't see everyone in the audience. Or maybe it is a live speaking engagement presentation and not everyone's on the front row. Well, I don't know about you, but if I hear someone speaking or presenting and I'm not on the front row and their tone is flat, monotone, unengaging, I'm checking my cell phone as fast as anyone else because I'm looking for relief. I'm looking for relief from boredom. And that's the problem with a tone that suggests this isn't very interesting. You've got to boost it. And if you're all nervous, sometimes it means you got to speak a little louder than normal, a little more range. Part of what will bring your tones back is actually moving your hands, moving your body a little. I don't mean you got to tap dance and do a show and do cartwheels, but don't feel this need that you have to, if you're standing, to stand in one spot, hands grabbing a lectern. The second your hands grab a lectern or are leaning on a table, you've frozen your hands, your arms, your shoulders. That freeze gets into your vocal cords and that affects your tone. So you want movement. You want a lightness to it. And you want to use the full range of your voice. Don't be afraid of speaking a little higher than normal. You want variation in your tone. If you do that, you'll come across more confident, compelling, and captivating. Okay, so that was the long form version of that answer. Let me hit stop a minute. I got to be careful I don't make the mistake I did yesterday, which is I thought I was recording all this great stuff and I had hit stop before and I hadn't hit start again. So the reason I'm doing that is when I am recording this on 4K with feeds from 4 cameras, it instantly creates like 120 different files. It is a massive, massive amount of data. So I'm trying to be selective in what I'm recording in the raw highest form of the content to make it easier to email it to the servers and so that editors in different parts of the world can download it. That's why I'm doing that. Okay, before I forget, let me do the short form version of that. I'm trying to do long form and short form on any question that's asked because some people, and I appreciate those of you here, are happy to spend 3 hours with me. For some people, that's too much, but they will gladly spend 8-10 minutes in a longer video. For some people, 8-10 minutes is way too long, but they will gladly spend 15 seconds a day watching one of my shorts. I'm trying to be flexible and reach people any and every way I can. Okay, now let me do the short version of that one. And I got to take this out of the frame. I hope I didn't have that in it before. How can you improve your tone as a speaker? Because let's face it, nothing's worse than someone giving a speech and all of a sudden they're very professional and their tone is monotone. Everyone's asleep. If you want a better tone in your voice, you need to tell yourself, I'm not a professional. I'm interesting. That means your voice can go up and down, fast and slow. Okay. So sometimes I may try to be even a little more theatrical. Sometimes I may do it and think, that's stupid. Delete. What did I lose? There are some people who have a very specific schedule. I'm going to do exactly 2 videos this month, and I'm going to write and rewrite the script, polish, hone, fine, record it all, record different versions of each sentence, edit, and they're wildly successful. That's not my style. It's not what I enjoy. I don't think it really uses my talents the most. So I'm more in the vein of put a lot out there, delete a bunch of it, still test a lot by putting it out there, see what works with people, and then refine and do more of what works. That has been my philosophy. It's worked well for me in the online training world and a lot of other places, but it's not the only way. It's simply just one way of doing things. Okay, Vyas also says, is it possible I can be a great public speaker like you? Well, Vyas, thank you so much. I appreciate it. But realize I have no natural unique abilities. I started off as someone very shy. I was the kid in class who was the worst at selling magazine subscriptions and peanut brittle for the Cub Scouts and the fundraisers. I didn't have any natural ability. It's simply something I decided to spend time on and practice and work at. So not only can you be as good a speaker as I am, you can be better. It's a skill anyone can learn. Now, not everyone can learn to be a Pulitzer Prize winning novelist, but anyone with normal functioning intellectual capacity can be a good writer if they systematically write, practice grammar, practice learning vocabulary, get feedback from teachers, and write every day. Anyone can become a very good writer. Anyone can be a professional writer. Again, might not be a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist or novelist, but you can become very good. And part of what makes someone a great speaker, Vyas, is having interesting ideas. So it's not just the speaking skill, it's going deeply enough into certain subject matter where you're really delivering people insight. I try to do that when it comes to communication skills, in part because I find it interesting. So it's easier to go deep. Also, it's because I read every book on the subject, and I watch a lot of other videos. I look at other content creators. I think about these things. I watch political debates. So I try to immerse myself in this world so I can figure out how to give you important insights. But thanks so much for the kind words. Okay. Sayak is writing, wants me to look at the private comments. So those of you, and forgive me for, I should know this, Barb, we talked about it yesterday. I guess if you're on YouTube and Facebook or one of those, through the exchange with StreamYard, you can send a private chat comment. I can see it, but some of the other social platforms you can't. So let's just see. Oh, all right, Barb, we're back in business with the dogs. I want you to handle this. Tick wrote in the private chat, how to avoid getting afraid of street dogs using your body language. And Barb, you currently own dogs. You've owned a lot of dogs. I had a dog in the 1970s, so I'm going to defer to you if you would like to add this. And then Teek also posted a video, which I assume you want us to share. Barb, are you available to come on stage and talk to Teek about the body language with dogs? Because you and I had chatted about this after the show yesterday, but I don't think we got to share the comments with Teek, who'd asked about that. Well, there you are.
Actually, it's not too good, but Chick was here in the studio at 9, and those were private comments. He was with us, and he was waiting for answers. That's that conversation. And
well, it says 11:15 a.m. and it's only 11
your time. Was it It's
It says
nine.
11.
It is now 9:55 Mountain Time. So that would, and I'm looking at the private feed, and if you're seeing it, it would be 11. You're after 11 your time right now, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm saying he just posted that. That's not an old comment.
I'm seeing it. I have screenshots. I'll show it to you later. But I know he was here in the studio along with Adam.
Okay.
They were both in here, and I couldn't get your attention. I came up, so I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
But we're good.
But so I just want to make sure I'm understanding our system that we're all communicating in every day. So I'm seeing you posted
Let
not
me.
private messages. It says
What time?
11:54 my time. Did you just
Okay.
post? Okay, Tika's with
That
us.
is
Let's do that.
okay.
Tika's with us.
Yay! Welcome back.
Hi, Tika. Thanks for joining us. And now that you're here, let's address your question of what do you do about being afraid of street dogs? And how do you use your body language, presumably to not antagonize the dog and not get bitten? I'm going to step off for a minute and let's let Barb share her insights because she's certainly quite knowledgeable about dogs.
Well, it's true. I have two corgis, and I have been actually with animals. I'm definitely one of those people that talks to the animals, and I really think that. Oh, great! Adam's come back to join us too. I definitely think that the best thing to do is not being, not rushing and standing still before the because I thought you asked that yesterday, but it's to keep from being afraid of the street dogs, and you never want to have exude that you're fearful of them, and the most important thing is to stand still and just watch their movement, and you can back away facing them eye to eye, back away slowly if because you use the word street dogs, and so that means if they're out there and not being cared for, that they could also be dogs who are unhealthy, maybe unvaccinated, so you never know about that kind of a situation. But I'm curious as to why you asked that question, so you're quite welcome to unmute your mic and tell me that.
And I do realize sometimes we're in places where it's noisy, it's just not conducive. So, Tika, if you don't want to chat, you don't have to. I mean, I do know there's a lot of things about dogs that really vary from culture to culture and country to country. Certain countries I've been in, it's just completely common to see wild packs of dogs swirling around and walking around, and you got to be careful. And I don't know if you have that situation, Teak, where you live, but maybe that is the situation. Barb, have you ever been in a situation where you could tell the dog just was angry, highly territorial, and you feel like this dog really could bite you? I mean, it's been a long time since I've been bitten by a dog. I think I did as a kid. But I'm wondering if you have any other advice in that situation, Barb. If we didn't lose you, because I do realize you're having to hop off and do different things today as well.
I have not. My mother actually, she retired from being a animal control shelter officer in her community. That's so it was about 20 years, I think, and I would go over and visit her often. And I've never really had that problem because, like I said, I talked to the animal from the childhood, wildlife, as well as tamed animals. And so, personally, I've not had that happen to me. But I do believe that body language is everything. Even with the bear, we talked about the bear yesterday. So,
Yes.
If you're coming face to face with that any wildlife and any animal that is not your animal, hasn't been trained, it's just their natural instinct because they're afraid. It's not that they want to be mean to you. It's like, what are you, human? You know, and depending on your size and your shape, you could look really scary to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to put yourself in their shoes. So I would avoid. What I was taught from childhood was you're face to face to them, you back away face to face. You don't turn your back on them because their immediate, just their natural instinct is to pounce. So don't turn your back. Keep contact as long as you can. I mean, I do remember being in a quasi life threatening situation when we were out hunting, and the most we could not, as in being part of the hunting party, you couldn't talk to each other, and having a mountain lion facing us. So what do? And this whole, I mean, my father, he was brought up that, from his childhood, hunting and fishing and all of that. And so he had taught us early to be extremely quiet, no quick moves, and look straight at it, whatever that predator is.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and your eyes, what you're, projecting, I mean, my eyes can be rather killing, if you will. At time, if I am not happy about something and I feel threatened, it's not going to show fear. It's going to show, my eyes are going to show I'm going to defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my take on it.
Great. Well, thanks for your analysis there, Barb. We appreciate it. Certainly hope that was helpful. Woodpecker posted those questions. Thanks. Madhav is saying hello and thanks as well. Ivan has stopped by to say hi. And Ivan says, how do I land on my message? Ivan, if you could elaborate on that, or if you want to come on live with us, do you mean, I talk about message all the time, whether it is how to give a speech, a presentation, or talk to the media. And that word can mean different things to different people. When I say your message, what I really mean is, how do we distill this idea you want to convey to someone in its clearest, simplest terms? If you could say something in one sentence of 10 words or less, one subject, one verb, one object, what would that be? All of us can talk for 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days on various topics. But to me, a message is the fundamental building block of communication. It's not one word, it's not a phrase, but it's an idea where if you hear the thing once, someone could hear it and say, oh, okay, I might not agree with it, but I understand what the idea is. The iPhone is a great tool I use every day. That's a message. Is it the most interesting message in the world? No. But it's one sentence. It's about 10 words. It has one simple idea. I could expand on it. I could do all sorts of things. But that's a message. So much of what gives people a problem when it comes to their speeches is they haven't really given thought to what their message is. All they're thinking about is, I've got lots and lots of facts about what I'm doing, or I have lots of facts on what people in my department have done in the last quarter or the last week. So let me throw it all out there. So what happens, and this is what you've heard me refer to, is someone listening to you speak or present or talk is thinking, whether it's conscious or unconscious, they're thinking, what's the message here? What am I supposed to take away from this? What's the greater meaning? If they can't figure it out, guess what? It's not their problem. It's our problem as a speaker. So much of being a great communicator, frankly, has nothing to do with the tones of your voice and the hand gestures and the lack of ums and ahs. It is about giving thought to messages, really spending time brainstorming on messages, and then eliminating messages that either aren't as important as others, or aren't interesting, or aren't clear, or aren't insightful. That's so much of what it takes to be a good presenter. Now, Tika, are you with us? I am hearing sound. So if you want to just speak or talk, go ahead.
Where can we practice small speeches? Do you have any book recommendation or any specific source where I can find small 4 to 5 minute speeches and rehearse that just for practice of my speaking skills?
Well, the number one way you can practice, the absolute best way you can practice, is what you did just there. You came on, you put yourself out there, you turned your micro on, and you spoke. That is infinitely more powerful and better, frankly, than if you went and bought a copy of my book, Secret to Foolproof Presentations, and turned to a certain page and tried to memorize it. I mean, I love people buying books, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be so much better for you to learn to speak by speaking. If I came to you and said, I want to be a world-class swimmer, can you name the top 10 books I should start reading? You might say, well, TJ, how about you go down to the swimming pool and hop in? See if you can go from one end of the pool to the other. I think that's probably what you would suggest. I'm going to do the same thing. I want to compliment you on just speaking to me today. That's great. But the next thing you could do is make one YouTube or TikTok short per day, or Instagram or Facebook. It doesn't matter what platform. Just speak. You don't have to edit it and learn to dance and have special effects and try to get a billion views. Just record yourself speaking, post. Maybe only one other person in the whole world watches it. But the sheer fact that someone is watching it is going to help you learn to get better. It's going to help you learn how to deal with pressure, because when you're speaking and recording it, there's a part of you thinking, oh, somebody's going to see this. If I sound stupid, they'll know and they'll see me. That gives you an added incentive to get better. So, and the other thing is, just come join us a couple times a week and talk. By the way, and there's no pressure. I'm not shaming anyone. Is there any reason why you don't have a camera on and want to show us? Because we do learn a lot by the facial expressions and the hand gestures. Do you want to share? And sometimes it's not a good place, or we're in an inappropriate place, something like that. But
Yes.
do you
The
want to
reason
turn
is
your camera on?
my camera is not that good, and the lighting in the room is not that good.
Okay.
And the third reason is my camera angle always mirrors the picture, so it looks awkward to me. That's why I don't share my video in the call, like video call right now.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to today, but that's one of my homework assignments I'd like to give you. I need you to figure it out, because the more you speak where people can see you, the more that will toughen you up and reduce stress for you when you are speaking, because you don't have to speak to me, obviously, where I can see you. But at some point in school, business, in life, you are going to be speaking and people are going to look at you. If you're not used to people looking at you, then when it does happen, you're going to be more uncomfortable. If I get a knock on the door in the next 2 minutes and it's an NBC reporter says, TJ, we just need a quick reaction from you analyzing some famous politician's press conference today on Meltdown. Can we interview you right now? I'm not going to be nervous at all. I'm going to feel exactly the same as I do now, because I'm used to speaking on camera all day long. For me, it would be fun. I hope I hear a knock like that. But if you're not used to anyone seeing you, it's going to feel more nerve-wracking. So that's why I would recommend it. And I see Ada has joined us, and he's on camera. Thank you so much. Hey, guys, stay there. I want to hear from you, but I've had some people who were nice enough to write in with questions. And one in particular, I do feel I have to respond to because it's relevant. So I'm happy you're here. If you wouldn't mind, I'm just going to mute your mic. But I do want to hear from you. And Tick Tick, I'm happy to hear more from you as well. Ivan, I hope I answered your question.
Sir, I
And
want you to react on my video that I sent you in the comment in the
ah,
chat section.
now I see it. Yes. So that does take precedence. So let me hit share. I'm going to share screen. I'm going to put entire screen. I'm going to hit share audio. I'm going to go there and share. And we're going to do this. Thank you very much for being patient.
What is the difference between mitosis and meiosis? Mitosis is called as equational division. Meiosis is called as unequal division.
Now, are you able to hear that? I want to make sure I did the settings correctly.
Yes, I can hear.
Great. So let me watch a little more.
In mitosis, the daughter cells produced from parent cell have equal amount of DNA and chromosomes as the parent cell. Whereas in meiosis, the daughter cells formed have.
Okay, I'm seeing a number of things that I really like here. Let's break this down a minute. I'm really, and feel free to come on camera with us if you like. So I'm really liking their tone, the volume, the speed. You're not going too quickly. You're not rushing. And I really like the fact that your body language is helpful. It's in sync. Mitosis is this. I got the word wrong. Cytosis is that. So you're showing contrast, not just with your words, but with your body language, your hands, your movement, your tones. So you're really bringing in a lot of nuance with the expressions, the movement, the tone. Your speed is good. The volume is good. All of that's good. Two visual things that are going to help you a lot. Your camera is way too low and it's shooting up your nose. Just elevating the camera would help a lot. The second thing is you need to be aware of what people are seeing, because let me pull up. I don't want to seem like I'm making fun of you. There's a fan going around your head, above your head in the video. But the way it looked like you had a giant propeller in your head, and your head was almost part helicopter, and I was worried you were going to fly away through the ceiling. Now, I'm being a little bit facetious, but I do want you to think about things. Let me see if I can. I hope I don't mess up my settings, but let me see if I can actually change my settings one moment without breaking things permanently. Okay, so this is the angle you have. Do I look good this way?
No.
This is the least flattering look. This is the least flattering look for anyone.
Right.
This is, I mean, now I'm using my webcam. It's at sort of a normal height. Do you want to look at this space this way? So I realize that may seem a little extreme, but that's why important. Now let me see it without breaking this. Can I get back to my normal camera? So I do not want to use my webcam. Okay, now we're back. Great. So do you see by having the camera at my eye level, it looks a little better, right? Now, not
Yes.
only can you not see fluorescent lights or fans above me, you can't see anything above me. I don't want you looking at the ceiling. I want you looking at me and just the stuff in the background as an accent. So I would try. Can we try those two things for the next one?
Yes, I will try that
Great.
in
Thanks
the
so
next
much.
video.
Okay. Stay on with us if you can, but I do want to answer a question that was posed by someone nice enough to write in, and I wanted to address that before we close out here today, because we've had 3 different live sessions today, and I appreciate those of you who spent so much time. Okay, now let's go to the question. Okay, how can people working in IT who neither have a team to address nor a lot of variation? Okay, I'm sorry, I did answer that question earlier in the week. Let me go to the next. I had another question that someone had asked that I did think was relevant. We put out invitations. You don't have to accept, but we do put out invitations to people who want to RSVP for some of our live events, and they are able to ask questions and pose questions that they want me to address. So here's a question that comes from Marlene. I'm making a questionnaire document. After the question, I make lines for them to write their answers by pressing Shift and the little line, which then forms lines. Once I have 3 lines, I click Enter, and the 3 lines merge into one bold line. I can get that back by clicking Backspace 3 times. But if I don't do that right away, and I keep that bold line there and move on, when I come back later, how can I remove that bold line? So this is a question from Marlene, and it does relate to communication, because communicating with forms and things like that is a form of communication. Here's the thing. I have absolutely no idea. And as much as I hate it when other people say I'm not a techie, unfortunately, that is kind of my response to a lot of things. I have no idea how to do that. Even though I use PowerPoint, I've never made a PowerPoint. I've always had a team of other people to do that. Even though I put out edited videos every day, I've never edited a video. So I say that not to brag or make it sound like I'm important, but that's one of my character flaws, being lazy for certain things like that. So I don't have any idea, Marlene. I apologize. If anyone else in our community does, please post a comment here. The reason I want to address that is because I do think people worry a lot about, oh my gosh, what do I do if someone asks me a question and I don't know? So I want to do a long and short form video right now on that very subject, because that has come up a lot over the years from my students, from my clients around the world. So let me address that. I'm going to hit record, go to camera 1. What do you do if you're giving a presentation and someone asks a question of you? And it's not a stupid question. It's maybe in some ways related to your topic, but you have absolutely no idea, not the foggiest notion of how to answer that question intelligently. And yet you don't want to look stupid. What do you do? Well, for a lot of speakers, a lot of people in business, this is what they worry about. Oh my gosh, what if somebody asks me a question I don't know? Here's my recommendation. Don't try to fake it. People can spot that a mile away. Instead, be transparent and say, I see where your question relates to, in my case, some aspect of communication, but I don't know anything about that particular area, and I don't want to give you bad information. If anyone else here knows, if you could meet after our meeting, that would be great. I apologize. I know nothing about that subject. My core competency is in, and then reaffirm what you're doing. Here's the key. Don't act overly embarrassed. Don't say, oh my God, I should know that. I feel like a fool, because that will be the most memorable moment in your entire presentation. Don't act embarrassed or flustered, but you can be transparent and just acknowledge, hey, I hear your question. Or if they wrote it to you, I'm reading your question. I'm respecting you. Everyone likes to be heard. Everyone likes to be respected. That's why it is important not to just delete or ignore unless it seems totally silly or ridiculous. What you want to do is acknowledge the question, but then be straightforward and just say, this is not my core area of expertise or competence. If there is someone else in the room or someone else in the online meeting with you where you think you can connect them, by all means do. But if not, simply let them know that's not your area of expertise. Then go to the next question and give a great answer to the next question. And then go to the next. Don't dwell on it. Don't sweat. Don't look like, sometimes people can say the right thing, can have an appropriate segue to the next subject. But if people see your face going, it's emotion. And if it's an emotion of humiliation or doubt or nervousness or tension, unfortunately, that might be the most interesting thing on your face the entire presentation you give. It therefore might be the most memorable aspect of your entire presentation. You don't want this to dominate people's memories. You want to dominate the memories by you giving interesting, important messages and answers to questions about your core area of expertise. Okay, so that was the long version for that question. Let me do a quick short version, and ideally that can be of use for a short form video. What do you do if you've asked a question in a presentation and you have absolutely no idea whatsoever? The key thing is don't panic and say, oh my God, I feel like a fool. Instead, calmly, coolly say, I don't know. I'll try to find out or find someone who can help you, and then go to the next question. Okay, that one was a little harder for me because I felt like I had to change the nuance a little bit of the question to make it a short form. So maybe it will work, maybe it won't work. I don't really know. Okay, Ada has been waiting patiently. Let's see what's on his mind. How are you today?
I'm fine, sir. What about you?
Fantastic. It's good to be with you and to be with everyone. We had power outages here in South Florida earlier today, right in the middle of a live stream. So if any of you are with me, you may have noticed that I just disappeared. We had black screen. I was fine, but the power went out just for really 1 second, but that took the internet off and I couldn't get back for 5 minutes. But other than that, absolutely great. Tell us what you're working on and where you're trying to improve right now.
First of all, I thank you to give me live on your show, and you and your story looking so awesome and beautiful. Now I'm working
Oh,
on
thank you.
a personal.
If I could just comment on that briefly, I really do want to thank you for compliment. Of course, everyone loves compliments all the time. It's been my experience for decades that if you are making video, any backdrop you use, any video backdrop, any type of screen, any type of green screen, a lot of people are going to hate it. And it just, for years I had like a video of the Brooklyn Bridge, and for years I had a news scene where there were lots of TVs behind me. Anything I did generated a lot of criticism. For several years, I had just a white screen behind me, so it was pure white. That generated kind of the least amount of criticism, but it was also the hardest to deal with. It's very hard to light white in general, you light white in general, but also if it's a screen. So I do appreciate it. I would love to get feedback from other people on any other aspects. I mean, this is sort of our wide shot here that I'm hoping looks great, but we don't have the light straight. I mean, I still can't figure out how to get this light to stay blue rather than going to green and pink. So and this light behind me Once I step away, it's a little bit too noticeable. So it's still a work in progress, but very much appreciate your kind thoughts. What else is on
Sir,
your
I
mind?
have a question.
Yes.
Yes, sir. That what things motivate you to do that? Because your video and your room is looking well, good, and you have only few views. Some people, if they do struggle, if they do not get enough views like 1000 or more, they become panic and do not make further videos. You have a great spirit to make videos. What thing makes you that motivated?
Well, I pride myself in being someone who's more of a long-term thinker. And, everybody has certain strengths and weaknesses. There's certain details I'm not good at, certain tedious things I'm not good at. But when I set a goal, I do think I have a good ability to think long term. Now, part of that you could just say is lucky circumstances. I grew up not super wealthy, but I grew up in a upper middle class home as a child. I mean, I was born in 1962 in America, a white straight male in a Christian household. So right out of the gate, there's just a whole lot of bad things that happen to other people and opportunities that don't come that I did get. And it's difficult to talk about that without sounding glib or self-satisfied or smug. And I am a little reluctant to talk about it. Again, it's not that I grew up super wealthy, but my father was an engineer. My mother was educated, was a teacher. And because of that, I never had to worry about, where's my next meal coming from? So I had the luxury of, for example, at age 11, saying, I want to be an Eagle Scout. And I did that, by the time I was 15. It was a 4-year project. I had the time when I was 12 to say, I want to be the student body president of my junior high school, which I did by the time I was 14. So I kind of got used to thinking in terms of long-term, multi-year, whereas so many people want results right away. I want it now, 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 now. And people play to that instinct all the time online. I mean, as recently as yesterday, I got pitched a book on, how to come up with $1 billion business on your weekend. And everyone wants something quick. How to be fast, how to make $1 million in the next month. And the reality is important things, good things take a long time. I've been very successful creating online courses and selling courses to millions of people around the world. But, and this is a big but, I failed miserably, not for a week, a month, a year, or 5 years. I failed to make money my first 15 years in the online training business. So I'm used to long-term thinking. Now, I started YouTube in 2005. I mean, right after maybe early 2006. Not this channel. This one was started maybe a year or two later, but I had another channel. So I've been in the YouTube game a long time, but I always did it as just a side thing, a one-off, an occasional thing, a marketing thing, something to promote a website. I never really treated it seriously for like what I'm doing now until 5 months ago. And in my mind, 5 months is basically nothing. The one thing you do hear from people like Mr. Beast and a lot of people who are very successful is really work hard for 5 years and do a lot of experimentation, try all sorts of things. And Mr. Beast said he basically had no audience after 5 years. It's extraordinarily rare for someone to just make a video and it take off and they do well. It happens occasionally, but that's not really what happens to the vast majority of people who are really successful. It also depends on what your expectations are. Would I love to have 10 billion subscribers? Sure. Well, there's only 8 billion people in the world, so 10 billion would, I guess, involve Martians. But would I love to have an audience 10,000 times bigger? Sure. But, I think of the old days where you'd have to knock on doors, make phone calls, send out a mailing, do that for a couple of months just to get to speak to the Rotary Club in front of 18 people. Maybe none of them buy from you. Today, in my worst day, if I look at the audience of people who hear me, listen to me speak on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and half a dozen other social media platforms, on a bad day, a weekend, a Sunday, when I haven't even been in the office, I'm still going to have thousands of people watch my videos. Again, does that make me some YouTube expert and you should come hire me for $20,000 a day to teach you how to be a YouTube superstar? No. But I'm very happy to be able to speak to thousands of people all over the world every day about what I do, where I can help them share my expertise, and a certain percentage, maybe a small percentage, then they help me by helping me generate ad revenue, help me by buying one of my courses, help me by coming to a public workshop. They help me by recommending me to be hired as a speaker or a trainer at their next conference. So it's a win-win situation. And also, frankly, helps with this search engine optimization for my main corporate website. My website, mediatrainingworldwide.com, shows up typically first page, sometimes number 2 or 3, sometimes number 1. If you type in media training, well, guess what? Hundreds of millions, sometimes a billion websites show up if you type that in. So that's another benefit I get by creating video. So I like to see growth. You can't compare today to yesterday and see growth every day. It doesn't necessarily go up even 1 month to the next, but over a quarter, over a year, that's where I look for growth and for positive signals. So that's really what I'm looking for. Thanks so much for your question. We're sort of running out of time. I know, Barb, you have to go. I've got time for a few more things, but I'm going to have to sign off in a few minutes. If anyone else live has a question, let me just scale down.
I have a
And
last question.
yes, go ahead.
Yes. As you said, record yourself. I record myself, I record a video, and then I don't feel like reviewing the video. I don't feel sitting down and watching the video again, and my mind also gets lazy when you say you have to analyze it, you have to check for the good things and the bad things. So it seems a very tedious process, and I never did that even once for my video. So what you should tell me?
Get over it. That's how any important skill is done. It's tedious to learn how to write. But imagine if you were my English teacher and you assigned me an essay and I just said to you, well, I'm going to dictate it. I'm not going to worry about spelling, punctuation, grammar, commas, capital F. I'm going to dictate it. And you then said to me, oh, well, okay, TJ, you can dictate it, but then you got to look at it on screen and edit it and make sure the grammar is straight and spelling before submitting it. And I said to you, it's tedious. I don't really want to do that. I'm just going to dictate it and send you the audio. I think if you were my teacher, you'd say, all right, TJ, but you're not going to learn that way. And now I have to give you an F minus because what you sent me was just a jumbled mess, right? So I agree, it is tedious. Now, I want to be helpful and give you a little bit of a shortcut. Let's make it easy. Why don't you just do a 30-second video? Record yourself communicating just 1 or 2 ideas, 30 seconds. Could be 15 seconds, and then watch it. It's not that tedious to watch a video for 15 seconds. If you're doing a 45-minute speech, yeah, I get it. You just delivered it. You thought about it. You delivered it. Now watching the whole thing again, yeah, it can be tedious. Do small bits, because here's the thing I have found that sometimes shocks people, because they'll send me their video, critique my video, And then I'll send them back detailed notes if it's an old client or something or a prospect. They'll be like, wow, thanks for spending so much time. Really appreciate it. And what they often don't realize is I might have only watched the first 15 seconds of their video. It's not because I'm lazy, although I do try to use my time efficiently. It's because what I have found is the things people do well in a speech, whether it's a 5-minute speech, 50 minutes, or 5 hours speech, they typically do those things well in the first 15 seconds. The things people do that are awful in a presentation, whether it's 5 minutes, 50 minutes, or 5 hours, they're typically doing those things in the first 15 seconds too. So I don't really have to watch that much of a video. You don't either. So let's say you do have to give an important 10-minute speech. You've rehearsed it once, you've recorded it once. At least watch the first 10 seconds. Because maybe you started off monotone or flat or low energy, or you know right away you got to correct that. You don't have to watch yourself speak in a low tone and low volume for 10 minutes to realize it's no good. You got to change that. Yeah. Okay. So I had a question for you, Teek. You're a student of mine on Allison. Allison is an online course marketplace. I think I've been on it for years, but I don't really know anything about Allison because I'm on like 100 different platforms. So I can't keep them straight. The main one I'm on, other than on my own website of Media Training Worldwide, is Udemy, because they are very dominant. They're the largest player in the space. And that is where I have almost 2 million students. And it's where I've made great connections and met Barb through Udemy. Can you tell us anything about Allison? What are they like? What do you like about them? What drew you to Allison? How do they even charge? Is it a monthly subscription? Is it per course? Are they free and they run ads? If you don't mind just telling me a little more about the online platform, Allison.
Well, Allison is a online website and it is a free website. I mean, it has paid courses as well. It has free courses as well. But your course on speaking on panel and media training, like something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I found your course and that was free. First, I looked
Okay.
at your video on YouTube and then I see, wow, this great person is on Allison and his course is free. Why not to join his free course and see how can I benefit? So it was a
Okay.
free course and they run ads on their website and they earn through ads.
Okay.
And after that course, I get a free certificate that has a stamp of Allison on it, and that is with their logo mark. And if I want to make a standard certificate, then I have to pay for it.
I see. Yes, I have heard of that model before. That has worked for a number of platforms. So I'm glad it's worked out for you. And I'm glad you're continuing to learn. And I hope you can come back here regularly, pose more questions. That really is the best way of learning and growing as a communicator. And most of all, speaking, just as you're doing right now, taking every opportunity to speak in an online platform, using your voice, not just typing. And there's nothing wrong with typing and writing. I love writing. I love reading. I've written 6 books, but there's nothing as powerful as the human voice and speaking. Tick Tick, thanks so much for joining us. All the folks who are with us today. Barb, thanks for all you do. I'm going to be here tomorrow. I hope 9 a.m. Eastern time. I hope we're going to have a unbroken up 9 to noon time period tomorrow. We'll handle all of your questions. I'll be making more videos and also answering questions from ChatGPT to go over common concerns people all over the world have about communication skills. I'm TJ Walker. See you tomorrow. And I hope to see you later today on videos that are going to be posted.